Resuming debate, the honourable member from Calgary Forest Lawn.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're here today because of the real and serious issue of foreign interference happening here in Canada. Diaspora communities across this country are feeling less safe than ever because of fear of extortion, fear of intimidation, and in fact also fear of assassination. Because after 9 years of this Liberal NDP Prime Minister, the Canadian dream of being able to live in this country and express freedom of expression, freedom of religion, and freedom of thought are all broken. We are glad that there have finally been arrests that will bring some justice for Hardeep Singh Nijjar's family and the community. Those responsible should face the full consequences of their crimes, and no foreign agent should be able to kill a Canadian, let alone a Canadian on Canadian soil. We call on the Indian government to cooperate with authorities as they investigate this murder, because the truth must come out. Canada's law enforcement and intelligence agencies must relentlessly pursue any other person or entity that was involved in this murder so that they can be held accountable and brought to justice. We wish the government was able to foil this plot and stop this murder from happening in the first place, as was the case in the United States, where in the US, authorities laid allegations and within 1 week, arrests were made to those that were going to commit that crime. This Liberal member who brought forward this motion mentioned Iran in this motion, even though it was his own government that refuses to list the IRGC Quds Force as a terrorist organization.
Okay.
This Prime Minister allows 700 agents from Iran's terrorist regime to operate freely in Canada and to terrorize Canadians. Now the regime operatives are recruiting Canadians to terrorize our allies. This terrorist organization shot down flight PS 752. Their families and loved ones are still living in a nightmare without justice for their loved ones. It was voted in this House to ban the IRGC in June 2018. And make no mistake, Mr. Speaker, a common-sense Conservative government under the leadership of the member of Carleton will list IRGC as a terrorist organization and ban them so they can no longer use our country as their safe haven to recruit, fundraise, and hide from any accountability. The communist regime in Beijing is another threat that this government ignores. This is the same Prime Minister and his entire cabinet that showed their cowardice by abstaining on a vote to recognize that there is a genocide being committed by the communist regime against the Uyghur Muslims. The Foreign Interference Inquiry Commissioner confirmed that agents from Beijing interfered in the 2019 and 2021 Canadian elections. Our former colleague Kenny Chu, his election was impacted by foreign interference, as we found out from the recent findings by the Commissioner. My colleagues have had real threats to their safety and to their families because of foreign interference and the lack of any courage to stand up to foreign interference by this Liberal NDP government. It's that same regime that also intimidates and threatens Canadians who exercise their right to freedom of speech and to vote. And instead of standing up for Canadians, this government was dragged kicking and screaming to call a public inquiry into foreign interference in the first place. Police stations run by the communist regime of Beijing are here intimidating others that are pro-democracy. This only further demonstrates that this Liberal NDP government must take further action to protect our country, including by immediately implementing a foreign influence registry, something that the Conservatives have been calling on for a long time. We believe paid agents of foreign governments should have to be registered. If a Canadian food bank must register to lobby a Liberal minister, paid foreign agents should have to register as well. Even this Prime Minister's senior bureaucrats recommended he set up a registry, but nothing has been done. Conservatives brought an Opposition Day motion in May of 2023 calling on this government to create one. All the opposition parties here voted in favor of it as well. Canadians are still waiting to have a registry implemented. This House adopted that motion a year ago. For the sake of Canada's democracy, the Liberal government cannot continue to dismiss the impact that this interference has had on our elections. And this was further confirmed by the recent findings by the Commissioner. Conservatives will continue to fight any foreign interference from any country and put an end to any attempts by foreign governments to target Canadians and our elections. Mr. Speaker, this issue is one of the most important that we speak about in this House because fundamentally it is about protecting our country and protecting our people from foreign governments who seek to target them. The duty of government to protect Canada and Canadians is one of its most important responsibilities, and yet sadly, as we have seen over the past 9 years, the government has failed to do this. We have seen unprecedented foreign interference for years in our democracy and in our communities, and yet this Liberal government has refused to take the action necessary to bring it to an end and send a message to foreign countries that Canada will not tolerate it anymore. Many immigrants that came to this country, like my family, came here for a safe future. Many immigrants came here because they left countries where they didn't have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of thought, that weren't allowed to vote the way they wanted to vote. Yet when they came to this country, it was like that Canadian dream that they came here for, to live freely, to be able to express themselves through their religion, through their thoughts, through their words. They don't feel like they're in a country that they're able to do that. It's almost like they left a country and came to one where they feel like, what did we leave our old country for when we can't freely express ourselves here either? But that's after 9 years of this Liberal NDP government failing to protect Canadians and failing to protect our democracy. But make no mistake, Mr. Speaker, under a common sense Conservative government, under the leadership of the next Prime Minister, the member from Carleton, we will do just that. We will restore the Canadian dream. We will act to secure our democracy, protect our people, and end foreign interference anywhere within our borders. Restore the hope that if you come to this country, you will be able to express yourself freely through your religion, through your thoughts, through your speech, and through your expressions. We will bring the once lauded Canadian dream back to this country once again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah. Bravo.